Hey folks, welcome to Seawaywhiskywire. Tonight on the bar, we've got the Bearface Wilderness Series number 3 Canadian whiskey. Stay tuned. Well, hey guys, thanks for coming back after the intro. I'm Tyler, and tonight on the bar, we've got ourselves an expression from Bearface and a limited release at that. But, keeping up with my trend of reviewing whiskeys with ridiculously long names, I'm going to read you the expression as it appears on the bottle itself. So tonight on the bar, guys, we are taking a look at the Bearface Canadian Whiskey Wilderness Series number 3 Wild Air Release Elementally Aged. That is a mouthful to say, guys, and I'm going to have a mouthful of it into me shortly. But before we get into all that, the overview and whatnot of this particular release of Bearface, if you have yourself anything from Bearface, maybe you got yourself some of the triple wood, maybe you got another special release, maybe you got versions 1 or 2 of their Wilderness Series and you want to pour yourself a dram and drink along with me, please do so. I encourage it. It makes life a heck of a lot better for you guys on the other end, and I enjoy you guys drinking along with me, especially when it's Canadian whiskey. So for those of you who aren't too familiar with Bearface, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of how they operate. So Bearface is a company within Canada that sources its whiskey and then puts it into casks. And from there, once they select all the different cask maturations that they want, they take those casks and they place them in a shipping container, and then they put the shipping container outside in the Canadian environment. Various areas of the country, various altitudes, below and above sea level, temperatures that vary, maybe 30, 40 degrees up and down, depending on what time of year it is, trying to take advantage of that Canadian terroir. Very, very cool stuff going on there. Very, very innovative stuff going on from the master distiller over there at Bearface. So let's take a look at this limited release here. Again, this is Bearface Wilderness Series number 3 Wild Air Release, and it comes in with an ABV stamp of 42.5% ABV, as most releases from Bearface are. And at that level, I am going to assume that it is chill filtered and that there is color added, although it doesn't specify anywhere. If anybody knows, maybe somebody from Bearface wants to educate me a little bit better on it, go ahead and stick something down in the comments. Love to hear from you guys on this. And it is elementally aged, like I said. This is a single grain whiskey here. The grain they're using is corn. And for the maturation process, it kind of spells it out on the back, and we'll get into that in a little bit of the presentation piece. But this is matured in birch charred ex Viognier wine casks, hopefully I'm saying that right, and then they proof that with maple tree water, and then they finish it in ex maple syrup brulee barrels. Not really sure what that means. I am thinking, creme brulee, maybe it's like charred maple syrup barrels, maybe. I'm just speculating, but that is what the maturation process is for that one. And again, 42.5% ABV for this release. All right, let's get into the pour and take a look at let's get a cork pop, nice little cork pop on there, and we'll pour and take a look at the liquid that we're dealing with here in the bottle. All right, we'll swirl around the glass, and we'll go in close there and take a look. Really dealing with a nice golden amber color there, almost maybe it's that maple tree water proof down, maybe it's the maple syrup brulee barrels, maybe it's just the Canadian me, but definitely has that just a little bit paler than amber maple syrup. Yeah, very cool. All right, guys, let's get on to the nose of the Bearface Wilderness Series number 3 Wild Air Release and see what we can pick up on the nose, guys, of this limited release from Bearface. So, on the nose. Not age statement, guys. I'm not going to lie, on the nose, it kind of echoes a little bit of youngness to it there. Not getting a ton of ethanol burn, but there is a little bit of faint, it's almost kind of like being a corn whiskey, I guess I can say it. It's got that kind of bourbony burn to it there. But even at 42.5%, it's not overly burning my nose hair, so that's just a little bit of ethanol in the air. Right behind that, though, pretty awesome notes. Some very sweet cream on there. Some maple syrup, some caramels, some pine gum I get a little bit on there, almost like a mossy component to it as well. And then at the back end, I'm getting some mint, a touch of like dill. I don't believe there's any rye in this, as I'm very certain that it's a single grain corn whiskey. Don't believe there's any rye, but I get that kind of herbaceous dill note that you would get off of a rye. And then kind of at the back end, and it's not that I don't like this smell or it's off-putting on you. I get kind of like a black magic marker, like a Sharpie kind of kind of a note in the on the nose. Yeah, interesting nose for sure. Very decadent, very sweet. All right, guys, let's get on to the palate and see what we can get out of the Wilderness Series number 3 here from Bearface, the wild air release. So cheers to your health, and let's get into it, guys. Took a pretty big sip there. Lots of vanilla right off the get-go. Actually, let me step back for a minute. Fairly thin liquid, coats the mouth, doesn't hang around too long. Fairly thin liquid. Again, probably is chill filtered, and that kind of has that texture of it. Right in the vanilla piece is where we're getting it. Maple syrup. There's some caramel notes in there too. Very bourbon kind of maple-y-esque, very Canadian kind of thing, like a maple cookie, like a maple cream filled cookie. I think it would be a good analogy of that, with the vanilla, the maple syrup, the caramel. Definitely some notes of honey in there. Going for one more sip. Some brown sugar notes in there too, some kind of like cooked burnt brown sugar notes in there. I get a little bit of a pine resin, just a little bit, and then mint, and then just a touch of black pepper. It's on the back end there, warms you up a little bit, gives you a little bit of a hug, but it's not overly spicy. Just very, very much a nice fresh cracked black pepper note to it there too. All right, let's move on to the finish of this release here from Bearface and see what we can get out of the finish. So I'm gonna go in for one more sip, and then I'll share my thoughts with you guys. Finish wise, it's probably short to medium finish, I would say. It does have, it's fairly sweet. It's got a very sweet component to it. Sugars, maple, brown sugar, caramel, and that little bit of herbaceous note at the back end on the palate and the nose, and then it's kind of gone. Not overly transformational. It does have like that kind of I don't know if it's a foresty component or not, that pine resin, that little bit of pine gum kind of smell and taste to it there, and then that bit of herbaceous note too. The nose was mossy, and it was kind of had a little bit of I don't want to say saline. It just kind of had this like this kind of moss on the side of a rock kind of thing going for me, at least from the remembrance of that. But yeah, that's kind of it from the finished profile there and whatnot from it. We'll go on to the value proposition for this one, because I think this is kind of where this one shines. Limited release again, and full discretion, the folks over at Bearface did send us over to the channel for review, so thank you guys over at Bearface, really appreciate it. Love getting stuff like this in the mail. Love coming down to the basement and sampling it. This was one that, I didn't have a first impressions video or nothing like that. I've just kind of cracked into it and been working my way down through it. I made a cocktail with it just to kind of see if how the profile was with that. I can tell you it makes a hell of an old fashioned for sure. Value wise, this comes in at the LCBO, if you can find it, for $60. $60 is about $20 more than their regular entry-level triple wood release. I think it's something you should try if you've been working your way through the Wilderness series. I personally haven't. I've actually got a small bottle here that a viewer sent that I'm going to be trying here soon of the Wilderness series number 1. I'll probably do a little shootout video there, so spoiler alert, that's coming down the pipeline. But yeah, I think it's something, if you haven't tried it, if you like Bearface triple wood, if you like other releases from Bearface, I think you're gonna like this one. I think that at $20 more than the regular, if you have to have it, go out and get it. If you want to try it, maybe go a bottle split or something like that, or do like a sample from a buddy or something like that. But it is definitely interesting, definitely a decent kind of entry-level whiskey. And if you like those sweet, decadent notes, you like that maple syrup, you like that mossy note, you like those kind of pine resin, pine resiny notes too. I think this is something you're gonna like. I think it's a decent whiskey for the price, and you know what? It's not gonna break the bank, and it's not gonna burn your nose hairs, and you know what? It is not gonna insult anybody that if you want to give it to somebody as a gift or pick it up and pour it at an event or something like that. It's pretty cool. It's got a neat story behind it, the innovative process of how they age this, elementally age this outside in the containers. I think it's just very cool, and yeah, it's a great story. So yeah, that's my review of the Bearface Wilderness Series 3 elemental aged. Let me just start over again, guys. It's a big one here, so let me start over. That's my review of the Bearface Canadian Whiskey Wilderness Series number 3 Wild Air Release elementally aged whiskey. That is a mouthful again, guys. And if you like what we're doing here at Seaway Whiskey Wire, you guys know that drill. Like and subscribe down below. And hey, don't forget to check me out on Instagram at Seaway Whiskey Wire for more content. And if you guys are still hanging around this long in the video, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Love coming to the basement, trying some Canadian whiskey here, shooting it out, and having a blast, working my way through a bottle, and giving you guys my honest and open opinions. And again, thanks to the guys over at Bearface for sending this over. Please check them out. I'll put a link down in the description below. All right, guys, that about wraps it up for me. I'm gonna go get to editing and finish up my dram of Bearface Wilderness Series Wild Air Release. So cheers to your health, guys. We'll see you around. Bye for now.